I thought before I got into the presentation tonight, for those of you who haven't read my books or know anything about me, I'm just going to spend maybe 5 minutes telling you a little bit about who I am and what I do. Basically, I'm one of those people who was pretty much born clairvoyant and what I call full sensory perception. Because to me, when we have those abilities restored, we're back to a full level of being ourselves. It's not an extra sensory. It's really, I call it full sensory. And of course, it went away partially when I got into school. I stopped seeing the fairies and the angels and Jesus and everybody when I went into the first grade. And there were still things that would happen occasionally where I would have a spiritual experience or a vision or a psychic feeling about something. But it didn't fully get restored. Well, I don't know even now if it's fully restored. I have a wide variety of what I call full sensory perceptions. But back in the 1980s, late 1980s, I was attending a workshop that was like Feldenkrais work. And I had a really powerful experience. At that time, I didn't trust anything outside my body because I was someone who'd been such a psychic sponge, and I had been invaded by so many entities and ETs and things. I didn't trust anything but me. And I was at the end of a floor exercise at that time when this beautiful, loving being came to me, extended its hand and says, "I'd like to show you something." Well, it was the first time in my life I didn't even question it. The energy was so profoundly loving, I didn't have even a moment of distrust. So I took the hand, and I was taken to this beautiful place out in the galaxies, and had some beautiful visions, like going past this nebula was the most incredible thing I'd ever seen. And basically, I got introduced to a group of archangels from the Pleiades, and they call themselves the Pleiadian emissaries of light. And they don't have a humanoid shape. They're kind of like a rounded kind of triangular shape. And there is a sense of eyes and communication, but there's no mouth. But the energy from these beings was so amazingly loving. It just blew me away. And they started coming to me regularly. And what they said is that as things are changing on the earth, people need their nervous systems and their electrical bodies and their energy bodies really healed and brought back into a healthy condition. And that's why we're working with you here during this training, because we're going to show you how to take what you're learning here to a further step that will help people release more deeply and come into an alignment. So they started doing that. And what they would do is they would show me things during my dreams, and then I would wake up with my body moving, and they would say, "Keep your eyes closed, and we'll take you through the whole process, and then you can write it down." Well, this was the beginning of my conscious relationship with them. Later on, I had flashbacks of times that I had interacted with them on other levels, that I hadn't known who they were. And basically, several years later, one of the archangels named Ra, who's from the Golden Ray, came to me and told me that it was time to awaken my divine Ka and to teach others how to awaken their Ka. And the first thing I said was, "Well, what's the Ka? I've never heard of that." And they said the Ka is the divine double of your physical body that begins to awaken when you come into Christ consciousness. And they said it's something that was taught in ancient Egypt, and we're going to give you those teachings again so that you can teach people these things. Well, within 3 months, I was actually teaching my first Pleiadian Lightwork Intensive Level 1, which was teaching people how to open the Ka channels. And there's 16 pairs that we teach in Level 1, and they go through the whole body. And it was just amazing, the experiences that people were having when this was happening. And then over the years, other techniques started coming through little by little until we ended up creating this framework that became the name of the Dolphin Star Temple. And they said it's a mystery school, but I want to define mystery school because that used to be kind of an intimidating word for me, phrase. But a mystery school doesn't mean that there's secrets and that you have to sign your life away and it's the only thing you can be part of. What it means is that in a mystery school, you're given teachings and spiritual activations one step at a time, and you have to have steps 1, 2, 3, and 4 because before we teach you step 5, because there's a certain level where in the spiritual path the awakening is kind of sequential in a certain manner of speaking. So, for instance, if a person has entities in their energy field, depossessing those entities is one of the first steps. One of the next steps is if there's damage, like psychic tears in the energy field, that's one of the next steps for healing. Because you wouldn't want to do deep genetic change before those things were healed, because they can cause trouble for the person receiving the healing. So by definition, a mystery school is a school that gives you the teachings one step at a time in a certain sequential order, not for the sake of hiding anything, but for the sake of helping you open in a safe way. So now I teach 7 trainings every year that are connected with the Dolphin Star Temple. 3 of them are 2-week trainings called the Full Sensory Perception 1, 2, and 3. And then there's the Pleiadian Lightwork Intensive Level 1, 2, and 3. One of those is 30 days. 2 of them are 15 days. And then there's another training called the Regression Facilitation, which is a 10-day training. And basically, that's the main thing I do in my life, is the teaching. And I do some sessions, mostly by phone, sometimes in person. And my main goal is to bring about the awakening of 144,000 people on the earth to Christ consciousness. And I'm not the only one on earth doing this. There are many other paths that are working toward the same goal. But I'm just one of the avenues going in that direction. And I don't claim or think I'm the best. It's a good path and it's very effective. If you do the teachings that I give, it really changes things for you very quickly. But it's not an absolute, because what is right for each individual is what feels right for you, what you want to do, what you get excited about doing. So doing your own spiritual work is something you need to feel very connected to. And my work is not for everybody, but it's for some people, and it's very valuable for those who work with it. I'm also a singer and songwriter. And right now I'm in the process of producing my 5th music CD. Most people don't know about this because I'm not a musician and I don't do my music much out in public. Sometimes I sing when I'm doing a presentation. But there is a booth here that has my music CDs and 2 of my meditation CDs. And it's the Monroe Institute booth that you can buy them there. And if you imagine that Kuan Yin had a body the size of my body, and there was a little person just about this size that I'm showing between my fingers, she came to me back in 1992, when we had the first 11/11 event. Remember that? She came to me and she showed me her body as if it was the size of Mount Shasta. And then she showed this tiny little thing like this size in front of her. And it turned toward me. It had my face. And she says, "You are a part of me. You are not Kuan Yin, but you're the Amorah part of Kuan Yin." So I'm a tiny, tiny little fragment of a Kuan Yin essence, and that's why I took the name Kuan Yin. And I think it's the first time I've ever told that story in a public situation, because I'm not one who wants to make high claims about things. But for some reason, she wanted me to tell you that tonight, and to tell you that compassion and love are the greatest gifts that you can bring to yourself and to the planet.